The two key cognitive development theorists whose revolutionary work in questioning how a child's thinking changes from infancy to adulthood were the Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky and the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget. Both Vygotsky and Piaget believed that intellectual and cognitive development occurred in stages. Vygotsky believed that it was necessary for a child to have adult guidance at various stages of development. He also stressed the importance of the influence that social and cultural environment play in the development of a child's learning capabilities. Vygotsky developed a social constructivist view, where he viewed children as apprentices who learn from more experienced individuals. He focused on providing that knowledge and thought essentially social in nature. His theory suggests that there are three levels to cognitive development, the first being cultural, the second interpersonal, and the third revolved around the individual. Piaget, on the other hand, presented his theory on constructivist development, where children were viewed as inquiring scientists who learned from autonomously exploring their environment. Piaget was a big believer in that a child's cognitive growth via stages would develop through the act of doing rather than the act of instruction. He hypothesized four distinct stages of cognitive development. The first is the sensory motor stage, which covers the first 2 years of a child's life, where simply they learn via utilizing their senses. The second stage is the pre-operational stage, where children learn and process the world by how things look or appear. Piaget's third stage is known as the concrete operational stage. This is a complex stage where children learn what they see can be interpreted differently. The child is becoming capable of adhering to logical operations and understands that quantities can take various forms. The fourth and final stage is the formal operational stage. During this stage, children become less egocentric, are able to think hypothetically, and can reason on the basis of verbal statements. Piaget also hypothesized theories in regards to the moral development of children. He was not alone. His contemporary counterpart in moral development was Lawrence Kohlberg, a New York-born psychologist. Piaget also took the same cognitive development stance in that he believed that moral development in children also occurred in stages. He believed that a child's moral growth was, for most part, an autonomous act. It is based predominantly on the child's own observations of the world and hence not the product of adult instruction. Piaget believed that moral development in a child went hand in hand with the child's ability to reason. He, however, did not believe that for a child's moral learning to develop, that peer interaction was crucial. Peers and not parents or authority figures are viewed as being essential to moral growth. Piaget believed that peer interaction was a key component in providing a child with concepts of understanding in regards to equality, justice, socially acceptable norms. Kohlberg also utilized the stage-based theory hypothesis, with his theory of moral development consisting of 3 levels, each encompassing 2 stages and spanning from childhood into adulthood. In his first level, the pre-conventional, the first 2 stages focus on moral development being shaped solely by punishment or reward. Rewards also have to be reciprocal, the old "you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours" analogy. The second level is known as the conventional, with the 2 stages within focusing on moral behaviour being consistent with doing what others hold socially acceptable and believe to be right and just. The observance of upholding laws and maintaining social order is paramount. The third and final level is the post-conventional. This is where the stages within that, being the 5th and 6th, both hinge on the individual being the ultimate judge of moral behaviour. The use of one's own conscience and self-entrenched moral principles rather than that of social norms of the 2 previous stages. It is extremely important for teachers to have an understanding of how children learn, both cognitively and morally. Teachers should also see the flexibility within the downfalls associated with ignoring the individual. A qualitative approach that is equal to that of the standardized quantitative assessment is paramount to imparting knowledge. To value how a child came up with the answer, be it wrong, holds just as much weight to the child who provides a correct answer. Teaching should be loosely based around the past findings of Piaget, Vygotsky and Kohlberg, as the theories of cognitive and moral development are both intrinsically woven into the foundations of teaching practices. Piaget's pioneering work inspired the transformation of the education system in the US and Europe in the 70s and 80s. He focused on the child-centered approach to learning and subsequently teaching in both theory and practice. Educators were encouraged to view the art of teaching as an opportunity to engage with the children in an imaginative and individualised mode of thinking. I believe education should be viewed as an inspirational tool that allows students to be creative, innovative, inventive, and not force conformity upon them at the expense of their imagination. Teachers need to carefully assess each student's current level of cognitive and moral development and then set tasks that are appropriate, engaging, and intrinsically motivating. I think as a pre-service teacher that I can only benefit from having a psychological baseline on child development as a whole. I now see my role as a teacher as that of a supportive and nurturing guide, assisting children on their individual journey through these stages, to constantly encourage their creativity and imagination with the goal of ensuring I assist in the creation of adolescents and adults capable of doing new and rewarding things. An example of the application of cognitive development within a classroom would be most easily explained by the move from pre-operational 2 to 7-year-old to the concrete operational stage 7 to 11-year-old. In the pre-operational stage, if I pose the question of Chris is taller than Mark, Mark is shorter than John, John is taller than Craig, Craig is shorter than Mark, John is taller than Chris. Who is the tallest? Without the use of visual cues such as illustrations or the use of dolls, it would be out of a 2 to 7-year-old's knowledge to fathom the abstract nature of the question. If I pose the same question to that of a concrete operational stage as a written question, it is justifiable to assume that the time and the thought, the majority of 8 to 11-year-olds may use reasoning to supply the correct answer, which I believe to be John. Again, individual differences need to be considered. An example of the application of moral development can be related to Kohlberg's second stage of moral development. The pre-conventional stage of a child in the second stage would see the ages about to be discussed as an 8 to 10-year-old. The example would revolve around playing a game in the schoolyard. If a boy playing with friends sticks to set rules of that game, he would expect everyone else to stick to those rules as well. This is a crucial step as it allows the children to negotiate and adhere to the rules of conduct without the constant need for adult supervision or intervention. I'd like to thank you all for your time, and I will leave you with this quote from Piaget himself. Education for most people means trying to lead the child to resemble the typical adult of his society. What a terrible mistake that would be. Thank you.